In mid-July of last year, I got a Steam Deck as an early birthday gift, specifically the 256GB model along with the TV dock. This purchase that was then reimbursed by my dad right after, hence it being an early birthday gift, came after a few weeks of me going back and forth in my mind on whether I would get any use out of something like this. I refrained from getting this thing when it first came out because at the time, I didn't see any need for it. I had my Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, I had my handhelds like my 3DS and Vita still with me, and overall, I generally didn't see a use for something like this at first. However, after doing some more research and seeing what the Steam Deck was capable of, along with my dad occasionally showing off his own Steam Deck that he had gotten, that is what ultimately drove me to say yes to this thing being an early birthday gift. Nearly a full year later, I can confidently say that this has been one of the best birthday gifts that I have ever received. So much so that I'm going to gush about how awesome this device is for however many minutes this video ends up being. So, kick back and relax as I gush about the Steam Deck. Right out the gate, one of the main things that I love about the Steam Deck is how it makes a whole new world accessible to someone like me. Yeah, I may have a solid gaming arsenal that includes the latest home consoles and some older gaming devices like the Xbox 360, 3DS, and Vita, but the one thing that I am missing is a dedicated desktop PC built for gaming. This means that PC exclusives or PC versions of games have been inaccessible to me for the longest time unless they've had super generous requirements. For the most part, I made an exception when Project Wingman first came out and was willing to play on absolute potato graphics so my poor laptop wouldn't explode. While I've been able to get by alright enough without a desktop gaming PC, I also understand that for someone like me who is not only, well, a gamer, but also a content creator, not having a desktop PC is stinging more and more. While I will concede that a Steam Deck can't ever replace something like a desktop PC, this thing has allowed me to finally get a taste of the PC gaming side of things. It is awesome to finally be able to browse the Steam store and actually launch games from there more. Of course, not every game is compatible with the Steam Deck, but a solid chunk of the Steam library is. Just the number of verified games is impressive enough, but even games that have a yellow exclamation mark labeled as playable are oftentimes fully compatible. It's just that for games labeled as playable, you may need to use the touchpad or a mouse and keyboard to get through a launcher menu when you boot the game up, for instance. Or you may need to use a mouse and keyboard if you're playing something like a real-time strategy game where the Steam Deck's controls aren't the best for it, to give another example. On the note of those games, it's refreshing to play a full version of a game without it being a whole separate one for on-the-go play or a watered-down port. Although I, as an introverted gamer, don't have very many reasons to go outside much, having that kind of power and capability in my hands is still really cool. Previously, a game like Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown could only be played on a PC or a home console. Nowadays, thanks to this game being verified for the Steam Deck, this game is fully playable with no serious compromise on the go. This isn't a watered down port, nor is this a Steam Deck exclusive spin-off. This is Skies Unknown in all of its glory. Of course, there are caveats with a game like this, such as a lower battery life with this being a very graphically intense game for the system, but to have the game looking this good on a system that can fulfill the need for on-the-go play is stunning. It's still got a smooth frame rate, all of the aircraft and environments are still beautifully detailed, and there's no cut content here, as all of the DLC aircraft and missions are available. Let's take a look at another game as an example, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. All of the base game events are here, all of the DLC events and cars are here, the game looks stunning and is able to maintain a smooth frame rate so long as you set the graphics to their appropriate settings, the livery editor is here, the whole package. No compromises, no watered down ports or spin-offs. This is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered in all of its glory. Again, there are caveats such as the battery being drained faster in order to render the graphics this well, but I'm absolutely willing to sacrifice a bit of overall playtime if that means the game can look and feel this good. I am impressed with the Steam Deck's capabilities for these games. Whether you're playing games through the deck while it's attached to the TV dock, essentially treating it as another home console, or playing the deck while it's in your hands on the couch or in the bed at home or during a trip somewhere, the level of versatility that the Steam Deck has is already amazing. If you were to use this thing to play Steam games only, you would already be getting a lot of bang for your buck. However, what if I told you that you could get even more use out of this thing? Even more bang for your buck? What if you could have this thing's versatility go from amazing to downright unrivaled? How is this unrivaled versatility achieved? By turning the Steam Deck into your ultimate emulation system. One of the main reasons that I ultimately said yes to the Steam Deck being an early birthday gift was because of the emulation scene for this thing. I love playing older video games. On a surface level, playing older video games allows us to indulge in our nostalgia, to revisit an era where games just hit differently, when we didn't have as much on our plate, when we were less stressed, and when in numerous cases, games back then were just flat out better because the focus in the AAA landscape was to make the game good because that was the only way it could turn a profit. On a deeper level, playing older video games allows us to see the history of gaming as a whole, to see exactly how far we've advanced, or in some unfortunate cases regressed, over the years. To understand why these games still hold up to this day, or how much improvement to a series has happened since an older title. That being said, for as awesome as emulation is, there's also a reason why it's a relatively niche hobby in the grand scheme of gaming as a whole. Between installing the emulators, acquiring the BIOS files and games for the systems you want to emulate, assuming that you even have the hardware to play the more graphically intense games if you're looking to play 6th generation console games and above, it can all be a real pain to manage at times. This is why I'm happy to report that a lot of the painful management parts of emulation are taken care of on the Steam Deck through EmuDeck. To give a quick summary version of it all here, EmuDeck is for all intents and purposes a hub for all of your emulators, aiming to make the process of setting them up for your games as seamless and smooth as possible. This app takes care of all the backend management and organization for everything. Emphasis on the backend management and organization parts, as you'll still need to find the BIOS files and games on your own. Once you do find those two things, you can also have the games you own show up on your Steam page as if they were available on Steam, including the emulators themselves if you need to tweak some settings before you start playing. In my experience, the Steam Deck has been able to handle a lot of what I've thrown at it games-wise. Of course, not everything runs smoothly here. The Steam Deck isn't a silver bullet. Graphical limitations and optimization issues for 6th generation console games and above can mean those games may not run as well. Emulators themselves may not want to work at all, such as Xenia, however you say that, for the Xbox 360. And even though EmuDeck does handle a lot of the backend management, you'll still need to go out of your way to set up controller presets, tweak graphical settings on a game-to-game basis within the emulators themselves, and more. All of this is to say, this isn't going to magically fix problems with games and emulators for the emulation front as a whole, but this thing can make getting into the emulation scene much easier. And if you're in a situation like mine where the Steam Deck is actually stronger compared to whatever current hardware you have now, this thing can allow you to play some more graphically intense games, within reason of course. The point is, this thing is still super strong when it comes to the emulation potential, and as advancements are made on the emulation front, those will make the experience on the Steam Deck all the more better. Nearly a full year later from when I first got my Steam Deck, I can confidently say that this has been one of the best birthday gifts that I have ever gotten. This thing is super impressive given all that it can do, both for your regular Steam games and for emulation if you're willing to take the time to set that all up. This thing gets bonus points from me for it being such an awesome asset for content creation too, but I recognize that's a very specific and unique situation to have the Steam Deck for, hence why I didn't bring it up much in this video. If you couldn't already tell, I love this thing. Big shout out to my dad again for having this be an early birthday gift through reimbursing me, and for also bringing the Steam Deck up in conversation every now and then when I would see him before I got one of my own. If you're still on the fence about getting a Steam Deck, I would strongly recommend that you get one. Like I said earlier in the video, this thing's versatility, especially if you want to turn it into your own emulation machine too, is unrivaled.